Call to order the City of Greenwood Advisory Plan Commission for meeting for Monday, July 24th, 2023 at 7:08. First item of business is approval of the minutes from July 10th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising a hand.
Abstain.
So I have motion passes 7-0 and 1 abstention. Any special requests and continuances?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, David M. Compton, Vice President of Land Acquisition of Pulte of Indiana. I'm here under item 4, PC 2023-032, the Goggin zoning. Here to ask for request for continuance till August 7th. We have a meeting with city engineering on Wednesday to talk about entrance alignment, and we found out after the last meeting that our adjoiner that we've been working on with buffering and things like that that are important to being a good neighbor is unavailable until July 30th. So when they get back, we'd like to have a chance to meet with them before presenting to you with hopes of coming with a agreement, you know, that everybody is good on the alignment of the entrance, good on the buffering, so that we can move this project forward.
If I may recommend moving that to the 14th, we do not meet on the 7th.
That 14th is a great day. Yes, thanks. Thank you.
Do we have a motion for that to move that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Walker, second by Monica. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right. Motion carries 8-0. We'll see you on August 14th.
Thank you for your consideration.
So, under old business, that has been continued. Any old business from the floor? Seeing none. New business. PC 2022-101 subdivision waiver. This is for Joseph Heck, request subdivision waiver from section 10-06-03D. Lots requesting the elimination of a lot having sufficient frontage or access to a public street.
Good evening, board. Joseph Peck, Projects Plus. Here, said requesting a waiver for the section 10-0603 for the Greenbrook Park Block C, the redevelopment that the new plat that's being created on this lot. This lot is actually a current lot. Well, I can go with that. It's off of Airport Parkway, south of County Line Road. So this, we're dealing with lot, they have it labeled as lot 2 on this depiction, just the plat that for Harmony Greenwood. So this would be a replat of Greenwood Park Block B and C. So with the replat, they need approval for lot 2 not to have direct road frontage onto the public right. We're developing up lot 2. So this lot will have access, will not have access to lot 1. That's how lot 1 is being developed for the Harmony. So they will have direct access through the adjacent lot to the west through the existing easements that are on here. Block B and remaining block B. So there's existing access points to get directly to Airport Parkway. So we're simply asking for variance for this lot to be approved for that direct access. That's what we're asking for on this variance.
I can speak just from staff. So our ordinance does require for subdivisions to have sufficient frontage and access to public streets. This can be waived by you guys to include private streets. They do not necessarily have a private street or a public street. They do have some access easements on the north and south and an emergency fire. easement that they'll be putting in as well to get a second access for fire. Essentially, you have two buildings that are very similar and they have open pavement in between where their loading facilities are going to face one another. This is an existing lot that's here, but since it is being replatted to add in a little extra land to it, in order to meet their impervious surface requirement, they needed to replat to take in some more green space since they've filled this lot up. Since they're reopening that plat, we took a full review of it and noted that there is no road frontage, and that is why they're requesting the waiver today. Ideally, it would be platted to have a public street or private street abutting to it.
I was wondering, got a question, I was looking at this earlier. Can you go back to the other drawing?
Yeah, I see some confusion on my part too about what's going on.
I'm just trying to make sure I'm tracking with what you're
Okay,
asking to do.
So go back to the plat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so lot 2,
So lot 2, yeah,
can you point to that with your cursor?
that is the south lot right here.
And that's the drawing we just saw.
That's the drawing, yeah. So that building is on, yeah, lot 2, then the road access would go west. The airport.
So then if you go back to your other drawing, I'm just trying to picture in my mind how you get to that piece of property.
This way it worked a little bit. So there's an ingress egress easement on this lot right here. There's 40-foot access in this drive existing. And then this building is existing. Then there's a 40-foot ingress egress at the south. So those are the two access drives back to this. And then we'll be planning new ingress egress easement on lot 2. And we'll be dedicating a ingress egress easement on existing lot, remaining lot B right here. So this will all be platted, so this lot will have access through this lot to Indiana, or to Airport Parkway.
Okay. And the same owners own it?
This is the same owners right now, yes. But the lots are gonna stay separate, they're not gonna be combined, but they're same owners right
the accesses are in an easement.
now. They're on Indiana American law, the plats, those are existing easements, yes.
So you'd be using those for circulation purposes and access.
Right,
And it's paved?
it's all okay, all right. They'll be dedicating a new, there was this proposed variable, there's kind of a triangular line here that goes down. This will be a new ingress egress easement that the owners will dedicate between the two lots. So that way, because that never got platted on the remaining lot, be the front lot. So that's another easement that they're gonna provide. So that way the back lot has access through the front lot. If they're ever split ownership of those lots, that way there's, that guy's not landlocked. The back lot's not.
And then south of there, the owner, I believe, also owns a lot south of this lot. And Joe, you just wanna maybe put your cursor where the emergency fire access is going.
The access route, well, you can see it on this. That's where, yeah, the routing, the fire truck gets routed to the middle of the site between the two buildings down the center. Is that what you're asking?
Or down the south end.
Or, I mean, they're gonna dedicate an easement going south. so
South,
they-
that's what I was talking about, is that
Okay, yeah. So the south lot, the same owner owns this Greenwood Air Park Lot 2. So it's an ingress easement or an access easement on block lot 1 here, but they're gonna give an easement. So this is where the connection point would happen for this south lot, since they don't have access to the road into the airport. So that way they have two access points through airport, Greenwood Air Park and then go through Indiana American. So that'll be platted as part of the replat for the Army. That what you're kind of want me to think?
Yeah, I just wanted, them to know where that, extra access for fire was.
Anyone else have any questions? If not, we will entertain a motion. Sure.
Sorry,
Okay.
I'm a slow learner. So coming out of that, you're suggesting that they're gonna put an access right here?
Yeah. Well, this lot doesn't have anything on it yet, or
Right,
That's
it's
even laid out.
vacant right now, but it's owned by the
only
same.
two points of access, so they'll access here, to this easement. Right. They'll access here, to this easement, and this easement, that's. Because they don't have direct access to the road into the airport.
Right, but when he opens this up, they will have.
Right.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. I'm tracking.
And I'll just add one more thing, the, yes, functioning rear of the building, is up against the, there's that aviation, commission private road. That is fenced off, it's a security fence off, there's no, access to that, it's owned by, with the airport or one of the owners back there. So that would be, I guess, like a private drive, but they don't have any ability to tie in or access to that drive. But just since it's shown on the map, I thought it'd give clarity of kind of where this lot is.
Did planning make any recommendations?
I know since the owners owned both of the lots, we have recommended that they combine the lots together, in the replat. They wanted those separate, I believe, for maybe the future sale. I'm not sure what their long-term goals are here. There's with the development north there, I'm not sure if that's the best area to tie into. It's gonna be a 55 plus senior living area. And right now they're showing a detention pond, but you know, we could be a dedication of right of way going back there. We'd have to work with them on their site and their site layout to fit a road with our city standards back there, but there are some different things that we discussed with the access to the site.
Mr. President, I move we were on concerning PC 2022-101, waiver for the roach frontage, Greenwood Investors Harmony Greenwood. I move that the request of the Greenwood ILAL Investors LLC for a waiver of the requirements of Unified Development Ordinance, Greenwood Municipal Code, Chapter 10, Article 25, Division 6, Subdivision Section 10-603, Lots D, that specifies that every lot or parcel should have sufficient frontage and access to a public street to allow no street frontage on the subject property and access to Airport Parkway through an existing plat ingress, egress, access easements of the Indiana American Office Section 2 plat, which was platted and constructed to accommodate access to future development on the subject parcel be approved, and that the Planning Commission find that the criteria set forth by the Greenwood Municipal Code Section 10-4-3K for the approval of the waiver has been met for the reasons set forth in the attachment to the written waiver request or as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Walker, second by Monica. All those in favor signify by raising a hand. Motion carries 8-0. Next up, PC 2023-035, a site development waiver. Mr. Heck. This is for
Same size.
same site,
Same
all right,
site, yeah.
1175 Airport Parkway.
Right.
This is a waiver for section 1003-03 B9, commercial off-street load.
Loading, yes. We're asking for a waiver for, this site is gonna be a kind of a mirror with the front building. But with how this site is laid out, with being kind of locked in with 3 sides, the owner is seeking a waiver to add loading docks facing the front of the building, which would be tucked behind the front building. So they're asking, the ordinance says you can't have loading docks in the front. So that's kind of where we're, with just kind of do the building with everything at the front.
So loading docks on what would be the
If you
front.
consider the front.
Front,
yeah,
if
but
it
it's
was-
hidden- Yeah, it's hidden from road view with the building in the front. The building's in the front on there for more without hiding it. And then we work with staff to add extra landscaping. So buffer those loading docks from the future Harmony section, which we'll have a buffer with their detention pond already. But then we've added evergreens to help with the buffering. Now they're just asking for 2 loading docks to make these buildings more sellable.
From staff's perspective, there really was not a great location on this site due to the first waiver and the way that this plat was situated that I partially inherited and partially continued with. It's gonna be a loading dock facing another loading dock, pretty well hidden from any public view. They did locate what would be street trees, I guess, to that northern area. You can see it on the plan there, to help with some of the screening of the loading dock from the future 55+ Harmony, anticipating that that project goes through and is successful, and I have no reason to believe it wouldn't be. But to be conscious of their neighbors, we asked them to relocate those there. And feel as long as the fire department doesn't have an issue with the 2 loading docks in between the access area, that we would be favorable of this waiver. We are working with the fire marshal and the petitioner to ensure that that area is kept open for a fire truck to access that rear building. So that's gonna be the thing that I'm most concerned about with this site layout. And they are not asking for a waiver from fire safety, they're asking for a waiver for the location.
Yeah, we're gonna, we did get that comment at tech meeting, so we're gonna address that with, I think we're gonna strive no parking, kind of a drive lane between 7 and 8. That way there's not trucks sitting in those drive lanes. We got 50 feet between, 50 feet that's available there, but we're gonna strike a 28-foot lane or something to make sure that that does stay.
50 feet between loading docks.
No, there's 110 between loading docks, so it'd be 50 feet from like the front.
How far is it from the loading dock to the access easement line?
Check that. I think we have 13 foot off that property line.
To the front of the loading dock?
To the front of the loading dock would be another probably 30 feet probably. To the front of the loading dock. Yeah, that 13-foot access easement on lot 2 might need to be expanded a little bit. Once we stripe that fire lane, we'll have to look and make sure that there's plenty of access easement. We can work with Danny on getting that plat. They haven't come, they did come to get that plat. It's the final action.
I don't think so.
Wait a minute.
No questions from me.
I have a question. Should we get that approval from the fire department before we grant the construction waiver?
think it matters the order of that necessarily. We will not sign off. And the fire marshal or planning will not sign off if it does not meet our ordinance with fire safety. So we're gonna,
Well, let's go through like tech review again, just to confirm that, or how, let's,
we did a conditional recommendation. It hasn't, it's a recommendation, it's not an approval. We may need to set up a meeting with the fire marshal, just to talk with the petitioner. But if we were not able to come to an agreement and Tracy or the fire marshal or myself felt that it was not safe access, they would have the option of asking for a waiver from fire safety, and they would have to come back to you guys. So I don't believe it's necessary for you to wait for that approval. If they're not able to meet that, they'll just have to get on another agenda and come back to you to ask that question, and then you could decide whether or not you would grant that waiver at that time.
so we can entertain a motion.
President, concerning PC 2022-035, commercial off-street loading, request for waiver of CTC Constructions 1175 Airport Parkway. I move that the request of CT Construction for a waiver of the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance Greenwood Municipal Code, Chapter 10, Article 25, Division 3, Generally Applicable Regulations, Section 10303, commercial off-street loading facilities, B9, that requires vehicle loading areas to be located to the side or rear of a building to permit a maximum of 2 dock spaces with overhead doors to be centered on the front-facing wall of the proposed industrial building due to the site constraints to be approved, and that the planning commission find that CT Construction has met the criteria set forth in the Greenwood Municipal Code, Section 10-4-3K, for the waiver, for the reasons set forth in its request for the waiver and as presented.
Motion by Mr. Walker, second by Mr. Milborn. All those in favor, please signify by raising a hand. Motion carries 8-0. All right, thank you. Next up on the agenda is PC 2023-036, the Ridgetop primary plat for approximately 31.54 acres located north of 952 Combs Road. Petitioner is Pulte Homes, Rex Raymond, or Mr. Heck. Gets a third go.
There on that. Yeah, Joseph Peck, Projects Plus. Yes, seeking approval for,
I gotta stop it. This one you do have to be sworn in for, because this is a public hearing. So, Stevie can swear.
Do you swear on this burger, it's true to best knowledge?
yeah, Joseph Peck, Projects Plus, 157 Airport Parkway. Here representing Pulte Homes, seeking approval for their Ridgetop project, which is 80 lots on a 32-acre tract at approximately 972 North Combs Road. The site is zoned RM. The site is located that. So here is the site. So the site will have access directly to Combs Road, one access point, and they do have the knowledge that they're limited to 49 lots until they get a secondary access point. So they work with fire on potential emergency access routes on the Combs, or waiting for the south property, which is I think under or will be coming down the line too once sewers and everything get brought to Ridgetop subdivision. Drainage for the site is through a series of detention ponds, meeting the stormwater manual. Sanitary comes from the west, and water will come from the south. Anything else?
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak against this? All right, seeing none, close the public hearing. commissioners.
There was a host of comments and suggestions and whatnot on the tech review committee. A couple of things been addressed as far as requiring a new sanitary sewer special agreement, drainage. You did comment, I think, about the fire department. Emergency access and turnaround, and then also any improvements to Combs Road.
Yes, those usually come through with the secondary construction plans. They know that Combs Road will need to be widened for the city's typical reconstruction plan for a county road. Drainage, of course, will have to go through outside review once the subdivision, the plans are actually submitted, they'll get reviewed, and the sewer service agreement will work to get those all.
Is all that property in the city limits? Because I know on Combs Road, some of it's Johnson County, some of it's Greenwood, kind of flips back and forth. Is all that in, including Combs Road in the city?
The site itself is in the city, but the offsite drainage route is through a legal drain through the county, so we will work with Johnson County Drainage Board with go through the legal drain, get our drainage outlet. They know Combs Road has drainage problems. Watershed that comes, the pipes that are Combs Road sides, so we've been working with Rick King.
Hey, why would this require in your notes here, does it require a sanitary sewer special agreement? What is all that about?
So that's something that we like to warn people about early on. Anytime you're extending a lateral or my apologies, a main, not if you're extending a lateral, but if you're extending a main, you are required to do a special sanitary sewer agreement. And so we try to get them to get ahead of it so that that's not the item that's holding up development. With that, we do ask them to submit a few items to our sanitation engineering and legal departments and start that process working with them. So that's why I'll mention it during a primary plat. But that's a document that we will need before I can release a land alteration permit. So they likely won't have it at the stage of the primary plat, but they start working on it at that time, and it will be required before they can get their shovels in the ground.
Is that later in the thing here says they plan to relocate the legal drain? How long is that legal drain? Is that something has to do with what you were talking about, sanitary sewer, or is that just the other drain?
It's a stormwater drain under the control of the county surveyor, so they are working with the county surveyor on that.
Now the sewer service agreement, this is not a county project. Would there still be a sewer agreement in the city if it's in the city?
For
Yes.
construction of sanitary,
Construction sanitary.
it clearly outlines the terms of who constructs it.
No, this Rose Ditch, right? That's nothing to do with that, right?
Crow's ditch is the ultimate
Yeah.
outfall point
That's
for
the
this
legal
through the county legal drain.
Anyone else?
I just on this question there, so the county is being worked with on that legal drain situation.
Yep, we'll, one of our kind of things that we'll look for anytime someone is working in, around, discharging with a legal drain is that we'll look for their approval. So that's something that the petitioner will have to organize as they go through our process to also be working with them. And we'll be looking for the legal drain approval. The petitioner will provide it to us from the county drainage board or the county surveyor. So we'll work with them to make sure that that's in line.
Yeah, there's some discussions on that, the outside route. The legal drain currently goes through the storm sewer as kind of shown here. And the county would like us to relocate to the ditch. So open the flow up, because right now that legal drain doesn't have enough capacity and the pipes that are there cover. So they're wanting to open channel that. Drainage on the side, and all the upstream watershed that comes to.
Anything else? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
President, on docket PC 2023-036, primary plat, Ridgetop Residential subdivision. I move to approve the proposed primary plat of Ridgetop residential subdivision submitted by Pulte Homes for UC 2023-036, subject to the technical review committee condition that all staff comments are addressed, because the primary plat complies with the standards in the Unified Development Ordinance Subdivisions Division, and to direct the president to sign on the commission's behalf the notice of determination and written findings regarding the approval of the primary plat as prepared by the planning director.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Walker, second by Mr. Probst. All those in favor, please signify by raising a hand. Motion carries 8-0. All right, thank you, Mr. Heck. I think you're finally done with us tonight. Next on the agenda is PC 2023-044, the Center Grove Park PUD zone map change. This is a public hearing. There'll be 15 minutes for the petitioner and 15 minutes for remonstrators, or 5 minutes each. All those wishing to speak, please be sworn in.
Do you swear to Ms. Berger to make the truth about your knowledge?
And if we can get your name and address for the record and also on our signing sheet right there. That may be new, I don't know. For you.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Planning Commission. For the record, I'm Andy Baroker, an attorney with Faith Drinker, Bill and Reed, with offices at 600 East 96th Street, Suite 600, Indianapolis. I'm the attorney for Avenir Oakland Capital LLC, the petitioner tonight on docket PC 2023-44. With me to present to you this proposal is Scott Weathers with Avenir Oakland Capital, the petitioner and the co-developer. Spencer Lucian is here, the property owner, along with Dwayne Shearer of Y Engineers, our engineer. Just to recap, we were before you on February 13th of this year and received a favorable recommendation for this rezoning proposal. With the Common Council, 2 weeks later rejected it 3-6 on February 22nd. We requested a waiver of your 1-year refiling rule in section 6.03 on June 26th to be here tonight, which this body unanimously granted. We filed our petition thereafter. So Avenir Oakland Capital and the landowner filed this zone map change petition in order to develop a quality mixed-use planned master community development on 77 acres at 3111 South State Road 135 in Greenwood, named the Center Grove PUD District. It is a proposed planned unit development as allowed under your zoning ordinance, section 10-03-17 of Greenwood zoning ordinance. Scott will present the project details next. And as the project's attorney, I'm just here to advise you that this proposed rezoning from ag zoning and commercial large to a PUD for a mixed use master plan community complies with the city's comprehensive plan in its future land use map, the stated land use goals in the plan, and transportation and urban design goals of the comp plan. It also meets all of the statutory criteria set forth in Greenwood's ordinance, including the current conditions, character of current structures and uses, the most desirable use, conservation of property values, and responsible development and growth. Attachment A of our petition reflects how we meet the requirements of paragraph F of your PUD ordinance. So the goal of the request tonight is to request your favorable recommendation to approve this rezoning petition to the Common Council. And I'll introduce Scott Weathers with Avenir Oakland, who will present the details of our PUD project. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Good evening, commissioners. For the record, Scott Weathers, address 17501 Biscayne Boulevard, Suite 300, Aventura, Florida 33160. As we've already presented a development to you, I will try to keep this brief as I can, but wanted to reacquaint everybody. It's been several months, so wanted to reacquaint everybody with what the development includes, and I'll see if I can get this to work. We'll just use that. there we go. So to start off, the Senator Park is to be a master plan.
I think IT's getting it set up.
Uh,
That way it's screen share.
I was like, I swear I didn't touch anything else. Am I good?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Start off. Our team, which is comprised of a partnership between Avner Oakley Group and Lucian Group. Avner Oakley, which is a vertically integrated multifamily developer, owner, manager with over 50 years of combined multifamily experience. Partnered with Lucian Group, an Indianapolis-based commercial retail owner-operator with over 40 years of experience in the industry. At Avner Oakley, we developed a brand, LEO, which if you recall is an acronym that stands for Love Each Other. We permanently borrowed that from the Indiana University football coach. And that acronym not only is the name of our communities, but how we look at our developments. We want to foster communities where you know your neighbor, you're friends with your neighbor, and you love your neighbor, and as an extension, you love your community. In exploring this development opportunity with Lucian Group, we worked under the same mindset of wanting to develop a community that would encourage loving your neighbor and be a benefit to the broader community, not just those that live within the boundaries of the development. Our design team, real quick, includes Naked Architecture Design, which is the Avner Oakley programmatic architect and land planner for all of our Theo communities, and Dell Designs, an Indianapolis-based design firm. And as a combined design team, we are working to establish a homogeneous design for the entire community that's really going to blur the line between each different section of the master plan development. And then our mission, Centerville, provide thoughtful and approachable real residences and retail space at intersection of value and luxury. And then this is our concept site plan. And as mentioned, what we're trying to pursue with the rezone to community is to provide more to the Greenwood community. 2/3 of this property is currently zoned commercial large, pretty much that east-west road connection you see above CAA. And north is currently zoned commercial large that permits for large commercial or multifamily style development on it. It doesn't allow for detached or attached two-family housing. And so that's why we wanted to go with this PUD, is that not only we want to provide an alternative form of housing in the form of the single-family rental cottages, and in doing so, be able to utilize the entire property and provide more for the Greenwood community. As you can see, we have 19 acres of parks that will be made available. We will maintain ownership, but there will be public access. There's parking along the east to west road, and public access trails around each of the parks connecting each of those are detention ponds, but they will be treated as an amenity with those walking trails and be a benefit to the broader community. And to encourage utilization of that open space, we have designed the commercial space, and especially with the parking, we want to make this a pedestrian-friendly area and an activity center that is going to attract people from outside our community to come here. When you look at the section, commercial buildings in 2, that breezeway right there is designed to potentially have a farmer's market Sunday, and then look at potentially being able to market for food truck Tuesdays or something at a common area A, so we can really get families involved, not only within our community, but in the surrounding Greenwood area. The next slides, and just in general, we're currently designed 317 condo style units. That's the bulk of the site plan you see in the lower right-hand corner. That is about 250 traditional vertically constructed multifamily apartments, and then all the buildings you see on the west side next to SR 135, those are the commercial buildings. And then I'm just going to run through these images. You'll see tear sheets and then representative imagery of what we are looking to design and what we will build when if we get the opportunity to develop this area. And as I said, what we want to do is blur the lines between the commercial, the cottage, and the traditional multifamily areas. So as you're walking through the community, you're not going to realize that you're walking in a different area, but it's going to feel like one cohesive development. And if anybody wants me to stop or go back to any of the pictures, just let me know. But we chose a craftsman style look for the development because this is a timeless design that has been around since before the 1900s, and it's going to be around long after I'm gone. And here is actual pictures of the completed development, and it is representative of what we will be constructing on the property. There we go. Amenity space, interior, exterior, and then so the cottage style has been further designed, designed, and with the traditional multifamily that will come later in the development. These are some inspirational photos to show that we're going to be working to make sure that the design details are cohesive with the cottage style development. And right here is just a quick development timeline, which will start with infrastructure of the entire community, the detention ponds, the walking trails, construction of the cottages, then going into, once the cottages start getting occupied, that will foster the development of the retail area to make sure that we have homes and neighbors to feed that retail area. And the last portion is going to be the vertical multifamily. And I say this is an approximate timeline, that tradition, we're not building everything all at once, but we're wanting to make sure that it's responsible growth that we develop within this area that's going to be utilized to its fullest potential. And then here we developed our commission to tax study, and just wanted to highlight tax benefits our community will be providing in Greenwood and broader Johnson County area with a yearly property tax increase of up to $3.4 million that we will be providing, bringing through our property taxes every single year. Why this is different? Design meets optionality. We're striving to provide quality alternative housing and retail options for the Greenwood area, all wrapped up into one development. Vertical integration of services. We will both Lucian and Avenir will own and operate all. We will own, build, and operate all of the buildings within the community. So if you have any questions, when it's under construction, you can reach out to me. When it's under operations, you can still reach out to me and have the same point of contact if there's any issues, questions, or anything going on. The long view. We are not emergent developers and are looking to build and hold these developments. We don't build, stabilize, sell. We build, stabilize, and hold. We are looking at the long term and plan on 10, 15 plus years. And so again, you see building it is going to be who's operating it. Then what people want. I'll touch on the demographics in the upcoming slides, but with the impacts of housing costs experienced during COVID, the continually increasing interest rates, the views on type of housing that people can acquire and what they really want is shifting, and we're seeing that. That's why we're trying to provide a varying array of housing types. Demographics, about 26% are going to be young singles. These are going to be people with recent graduates that might have student debt, good paying jobs, they're paying off those student loans like I did for the first 10 years after I graduated college. And I couldn't build up my equity to buy a house, but this gives them the option whether they want that traditional multifamily experience or have the four walls of freedom in the cottage development while having the convenience of being able to walk to a grocery store, a restaurant, a coffee shop, a dry cleaner, your dog park right within your own community. Next, 18% is going to be your young family, single parents. These could be those young college graduates, they met someone, fell in love, and then want to step up into a 3-bedroom house. And while they're still building up that equity, and then what we see, the only time we see people really moving out of, especially the cottage area, is when they built up that equity and they're wanting to buy a home within the broader Greenwood community. And then the largest subset is our mature adults, or what I call the grandbaby chasers. I have my first child on the way, and I quickly realized how much my parents and my wife's parents love that grandbaby more than it hasn't even arrived, more than they still love me, but they love that grandbaby more. And we see a lot of those I call them grandbaby chasers because they're following that young couple, that new grandchild, and what this kind of development gives us the opportunity, it gives them a very array of housing types, whether they want to have an apartment or a home style house, but not have any of the detractions of having to maintain the home, having to maintain the yard. If someone needs a light bulb change, we have on-site facilities maintenance staff that are there to change light bulbs whenever they need it. We have concierge trash service that you stick your trash can outside of your fence and someone picks it up 6 days a week, excluding Sundays. And on top of that, you're seeing another benefit to this style community, whereas what I was speaking to about before with COVID, seeing that increase in home prices, those people that have the luxury of owning their house for 30, 40 years, all of a sudden they saw their home that they bought back in the 80s, 70s, all of a sudden double, triple in price in 3 years. The only issue is if they sell that house, they'd have to leave the Greenwood community to be able to get a house and really experience that equity that they earned in it. What this gives them the opportunity is sell that house, move into, still have a home that they can move into, but have that lock and leave benefits and enjoy their retirement. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has. Thank you for your time.
All right, anyone here to speak against this project? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and open it to the commission.
You did grant a favorable recommendation.
Yes, staff was favorable. We were favorable of it the first time it came before you. This is basically the exact same plan. They did fix a couple typos that we caught in the last time. So all of the land use, verbiage, meaning of the project is all consistent with what you saw the first time they presented this. I know some of you are new members, but some of you were on the plan commission the first time they came through. Staff is favorable. Our comprehensive plan does call for mixed use development in its future land use map as the most desirable land use. A PUD allows you to use a mix of uses. It calls for along 135 for that to be primarily commercial. That's what they provided on their plan. They have commercial, and then it logically transitions into a residential area. They've worked with staff to add in road access points and connectivity, as well as trail connectivity, tying into the development north of them as well that's currently under construction. We do have some recommendations with this project. There's 5 recommendations. Part of that is just for them to understand that we're going to work through them on this as they go through their primary plat, their secondary plat, and their master site plan. So this is the zoning, but it's also their concept site plan. It's a little unique that they do those together. It's not your typical zone map change. This is a zone map change to a planned unit development. And I can answer any questions on what a planned unit development is or anything on the staff report as well.
David, do you recall why council had issue with this? Remember?
I think it was just timing. To be honest with you, I think it was just timing near the primary elections. And there was not much conversation when this came before council. Just 6 people voted against it. I wasn't one of them.
If I made a comment, the only comment that was brought up was concern over safety. And we have actually met with the fire chief and police chief, and they actually have told us that they supported it. They have no concern providing safety. And that, again, that's why I touched on the tax benefit that we will compare to current taxes being paid on that property as it sits versus as developed. It's providing a significant increase in to the city to help to develop better to hire more police officers, hire more firemen, that I think everybody is needing right now.
And since we've got new members, so the bottom right corner, that's a part, they'll rent just like apartments.
Can I?
Yeah.
All right. So down here, this is your traditional multifamily apartments. That's gonna be your 3 to 4 story garden style apartments. That was, if you saw on the timeline, that's gonna be the very last thing that gets developed. This is the cottage area, the single family rental cottage style development. That in conjunction with all the infrastructure, east, west, north, south roads would be built first. And then this area right here is all retail commercial that we are looking to have restaurants, dry cleaners, coffee shops, just everything that you could need within a community. It's that 5-minute community that we want to provide so that we all like to be able to walk to get what we need in the morning, and that's what we want to provide our community.
So you just said cottage rentals. I thought you said these were homes to be purchased.
No, they're single family, sorry, I went behind them. Mike. It is single family rental community. So it is built, developed, and designed like a for sale neighborhood, but it is under single ownership and run just like a multifamily community. So it's an alternative style housing that's becoming much more popular between the younger generation and the retiring generation, because they're getting the benefits of 4 walls of freedom of a home, but they don't have any of the maintenance costs or anything like that with owning a home. And right now, owning a home is becoming very, especially for the younger generation coming out of college, very difficult to be able to afford that payment.
And then, if I remember right, this doesn't sit exactly Stones Crossing and 135, it sits
About halfway between Stones Crossing.
down or like south a little bit, if I remember right.
Yeah, so if you know, that's Cleary Boulevard, the northern road is Cleary Boulevard North, and then Cleary Boulevard South is just below what we're labeled upstream.
Do those all stay private streets or do they become?
So this north-south and the east-west roads will be public right of way, and then we will maintain we like to be able to maintain and manage our roads. So within the development of the cottage and vertical multifamily, all the utilities and roads will be maintained as private. So that way, we are the ones putting the bill to maintain everything and keep it up to our standard.
I was trying to, that way, anybody that's new.
Didn't this project get unanimous approval from the plan commission? The previous hearing,
The first time it came through, it was a
unanimous approval.
unanimous approval.
Okay.
Council
Much plans.
council voted it down, which is why they had to refile a new petition. I know our members, some people have changed, but the previous plan commission was unanimous.
And we have since reached out to every single council members, and we believe we have the necessary votes, the support that we need. That's why we have brought it back before y'all this evening and made the request last month.
I mean, what Dave said, it was a topic during the primaries.
For sure.
For some. Not our esteemed commission. Anyone else have anything? If not, I believe we have to hear.
I do remind you, even though Mr. Broker very efficiently covered it, you must pay reasonable regard to the following criteria when making a recommendation to the common council. 1, the comprehensive plan. 2, the current conditions and the character of current structures and uses in each district. 3, the most desirable use for which the land and each district is adapted. 4, the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction of Greenwood. And 5, responsible development and growth. And I remind you that when you make your motion, if you would like to include the 5 conditions recommended by the planning commission, you will have to specifically include those.
I guess, anyone else have anything before we entertain a motion? All right. We will entertain a motion.
President. In regards to PC 2023-044 Center Grove PUD, I move that the petition of Bear Oakley Capital LLC for the rezoning of approximately 77.548 acres located at 3111 South State Road 135 within the city of Greenwood, Johnson County, Indiana, from CL Commercial Large Format and Agricultural District Use to Planned Unit Development District Use, Center Grove Park PUD Mixed Use Commercial, Multifamily Vertical and Multifamily Cottage Subdivision is set forth therein, receive a favorable recommendation based on the staff's conditions. Number one, street improvements shall be completed in collaboration with the city engineer. Number two, trails should be incorporated in the common areas. Number three, site design elements such as sidewalk connectivity, street crossings, elements of the street design, turn lanes, traffic calming, lighting, landscaping shall be reviewed and worked through with the master plan submittal. Number four, petitioner and staff will work through / agree upon design as well as traffic calming measures for PUD Street B. And then number five is planning staff shall review all ground signs prior to placement for this commission to the Greenwood Common Council, and that the same be certified to the Greenwood Common Council in the form presented.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Walker, second by Mr. Lexi. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any new business from the floor? Seeing none, any announcements?
I have a question for Gabriel. How's did you get your consultant for the master plan under contract and going forward with that?
So we move forward with you recommended the HWC as the vendor to the Board of Public Works and Safety, who's our purchasing agent for the city, and they did approve that as well. So we are working with them right now. We are currently discussing dates with our vendor to do a introduction / presentation for Plan Commission. So you can look forward to seeing that likely the second meeting of next month. Don't put that down in pen, but that is the date we're targeting right now to give you guys an update. So that would be one of the agenda items, hopefully next month. And we are moving forward with them. Right now, we're working on forming a steering committee, and we're working with our vendor to help set up one of our first workshop events for the public. So we're excited to have that underway. Working with them, collecting data, getting GIS maps, etc. So we can look forward to an update in the near future.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for asking.
We just asked you, would we get a notification on the dates for those different workshops?
So yes, you should. We're going to be probably looking into some type of a mailing list that we'd ask that if people are interested that they would contact us. You can submit your email or any questions on our website that we have recently posted on our planning page. You can find it, or basically any page of the city under government, or at the bottom of our city website, you can find our comprehensive plan page. So, we're gathering things from the public and those who are interested right now. But we should be able to work with our partners in media and news, as well as our social media to promote those events. And we'll look at other ways of trying to get those out to not just you guys, but all the citizens of Greenwood.
Thanks.
What's your guesstimation of the intersection of Main and Madison be closed And this is still open today.
My understanding is that should be closed as early as tomorrow, and it's probably a 30-day closure in August.
Start down that way.
It's still open, they were waiting for some electric equipment to come on site today, so I did not take it.
All right, if there's no other announcements, one last motion.
Move to adjourn.
So moved.